What's this dangly stuff here, look? It's only wiring, isn't it? Wiring, 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 wiring. You feed your wires in and then, ba-jump! What's this dangly stuff here, look? It's only wiring, isn't it? So, thank you very much, Paul Carr from Cowes Marine Electrical. He popped round the other day, yesterday, when I'm making this video. And we have the battery pretty much wired up, ready to go. So the negative is, oh, sorry about the light. You can't really see it. Anyway, the negative is earth to the body, and obviously I've got my yellow cut here, bit of heat shrink on there. Power cable, which obviously isn't connected for obvious reasons right now, goes down, round, through here, under the seat. These little clamps hold it down, through the bulkhead, got little grommets in there, pops along here. Obviously the footrest is going to have closed cell foam on underneath it that's going to hold all of this gubbins down to the floor. Pops up, and we got positive to our distribution box. Oh no, it doesn't. Duh. It goes up to the cut-off switch. We've got some little booties to go on here. But basically there it goes from down the other side, back up, and to the junction box. I'm going to trim that down a bit, just so it's a little bit shorter. So yeah, a little bit of fine tuning to go. And this negative post there, look, that's actually earthed to right down the bottom. You know the this bracket here, that one part of the roll cage, that I had to weld some captive plates to the front bulkhead for that to bolt to, and so we made that the negative grounding to the body there. So that then comes up to the negative post. So that is what I like to call almost phase one. Phase one. So negative's done, positive's done, positive to post. We actually didn't get around to doing positive to the starter motor because we didn't have enough cable, but don't worry, Paul's making me up some for that. There we go. So roll cage mount sort of to the negative post to the engine. Didn't quite get round to putting in the voltmeter, and that is something that I just didn't think about. I don't know why I didn't think about it. So in that corner up there is a big hole about this big, and that's one of those fancy split grommets. So basically you just chuck it all the wires through that you want, and then it's got two half moons, and it goes in and clamps and holds it in place. Quite expensive, but it kind of does the job. So everything's going through the bulkhead there, and then I was going to run it down into here, and stupidly I didn't think about how there's this lovely channel, look, can you see under the dash? So all the wiring is basically going to go up into the dashboard along this channel all the way along there, but I hadn't thought about how to get it from the channel to this bit here. I mean, I could, where that lens cap is, planning on putting a massive grommet, a 50mm grommet, big old size, about that big, so that we can pass everything up through. Do you remember that the peas? All the peas Prior planning prevents piss poor performance. Oh well. Phase 2 is to actually wire up the back of the cutout switch so that actually does what it's supposed to do. Basically turn the ignition off and earth what's left of the old power system, firing up the coil to make sure the coil goes to the distributor, and wiring up the key so that it starts the starter. That's phase 2. Phase 3, sorting out the fuel pump, the fuel doodah, fuel pump switch, and the fuel gauge. Oh, I've tried to make these diagrams as sort of pictorial as possible, so that it allows the service crew, when they look at it, they go, okay Kev, that makes sense. Hopefully anyway, makes sense in my brain. You alright, Alfie? Hashtag not my cat.
Look at that top knot.
Wiring. Love it. It's great. This is actually my favorite part of any car build, is wiring. Don't know why. It's obviously, who knows and who cares, to be honest. Right, let me explain what I've been doing. So I have been using the old-fashioned Lucas bullet connectors. Right now, I've got those. I've got the tools. Why, Kev, I hear you ask? Come on, we're in a whole new millennium now. The reason being is if I want to replace some of the standard Lucas parts, for example, this indicator stalk, and now this is an original Mark II indicator stalk that came with the car, and so this has got to be, how we know, 20, that's got to be almost 50 years old, seriously. So anyway, I've ordered a new one just in case, because I've noticed that on that earth, look at the purple on my fingers. That's purple pen. See how it needs resoldering. Anyway, when you buy these Lucas parts, they all come with bullet connectors in. The headlights come with bullet connectors. The indicators come with bullet connectors. The rear lights come with bullet connectors. See where I'm coming from? So my spares package, if I was to go and some parts of the car, I'm using these super seal connectors for whatever reason that I feel is necessary. I've done that in the past, going, oh, that would be really cool, quick release that, you know, blah, blah, blah. But that would mean that my spares package would all have to be done like that. And also, you know, it's not going to work if I'm at a race and I want to borrow something from someone else or whatever. It just, for me, it just makes sense because I've got so many other minis. I don't want a dedicated mini spares package just for this one car as far as standard stuff's concerned. So yeah, bullet connectors. And where I haven't got the proper cable, for example, here's white. So this is obviously blue with a white stripe. And off the top of my head, I have to think that that's main beam. Yeah, so one of those is going off to the main beam headlight relay as a trigger, and the other one's off to the light that goes on the dashboard to tell you that your main beam's on. Silly things like that. There you go, that's green with a brown stripe, blue with a red stripe. That's okay for those sort of things, because then whoever, the service crew, only has to match that type of wire with the other wire. They don't actually need to know what all these do they? They don't need to know what blue and white is. If they're swapping this bit of kit out, they just know that blue and white goes to blue and white. Easy peasy. For those things that aren't obvious, I've bought one of those label makers, and I've made myself lots of little labels, like coil positive, sender, pump switch, alternator. And so what I've been doing, here we go, look, you see that? Sender, alternator. So these ones I'll put some braid around them, just really to try. There we go, down there, if you can see that. No, not in the dark. Starter, horn positive. Let's try and find some stuff in some light so that you can see it. Oh, here we go, look. There's your alternator exciter wire, which goes to your lamp. So that's that. There we go, there's another one. What's that one say? Pump switch, look. So then it makes sense, doesn't it? They know that that wire goes to the pump switch. So yeah, the engine bay is pretty much wired up. The lights are all wired up, look, there's using that little system. I'm just waiting on some bits and bobs so I can finish that off. What have I got? I've got some of these H4 connectors. They came through the post the other day. They're really good. Gonna wire those up. This is a replacement socket, no, plug. Hang on. It's female, so I suppose it's a, oh, whatever. For the windscreen wiper motor. It comes with these tails, but I'm going to repin those. And I've got in here, look, the proper little tiny ones with the tag on them. So now I can repin that, rewire it. So I can actually, what I didn't want to do is put another bunch of joins or connectors on that, which would be about there somewhere. I'd rather run the wires all the way to where it needs to go. Look at that lot. Utter carnage. It's Sunday night and I'm in the shed, OBS, wiring, watching the footy. 1-0, oh my goodness. Is football coming home? We'll find out. Anyway, here we go, look. So, get in there. See, look, that's all nicely labelled up. So, my service crew know exactly what wire does what. These are the relays. They're all getting wired up there. Slowly, catchy monkey. And as I've said, I do enjoy wiring. I find it quite therapeutic, I think. Anyway, gotta crack on. And you boys have gotta crack on as well. I have been productive this week, gee whiz. But first, I'd just like to say a massive thank you to Paul Carr from Cowes Marine Electrical. Mate, you have come up with the goods this week. I've been obviously doing the wiring on the car, but something was slowing me down, or stopping me, and that was materials, basically. I needed earth wire, and look what he's come up with. So I've got 50 meters of 16 amp black wire, 30 meters of 33 amp black wire, and 30 meters of 42 amp black wire. Gee whiz, that's brilliant. So that means that now I can wire up the headlights, do the negative side of so many things, relays. It's just so much I can do now that I've got that. So that's brilliant. I'll be cracking on with that over the weekend. What else has he given me? A whole big box of P-clips. That's brilliant because I really do like to have my wiring all nice and tidy, and a selection of grommets which you can't go wrong with. But the pièce de résistance is this stuff. Grommet strips. Look, he's given me 25 meters of grommet strips. What's grommet strips, Kev? Well, I didn't know. I had no idea this stuff even existed. Look at this. Let me find the end of it a bit. Basically, it's like DIY grommets. Look at that. So basically, you cut it to whatever the length you want. So it's got its U channel, and if you wanted a 25 meter hole grommet, look at that. The possibilities are endless. Amazing, absolutely amazing. Sir, you're a legend. Let me show you what I've done so far. Look at that carnage there, because the boot is wired up, but this is basically test wire. Basically, yeah, that's going to get connected to the Deutsch connector down there. This is all I've just done this on temporary stuff. This way, I don't know what you call these things, but we use them in domestic wiring at work, and they're great, really useful, just for those, especially for that sort of, you know, testing circuits and things. Here we go, we're getting there. Look, we're getting there. Relays are in. So yeah, this is the idea, that the service crew can sit basically where I am. They can just open up the door, and if they need to, they can investigate. That dropped because the bolt's loose. But there you go, look, so they can investigate or add wiring or bypass wiring or whatever they want to do on the back of the fuse boxes, and do exactly the same with the relays. So I've just added just enough wire so that it all sort of nicely tucks in there. Let me explain how I've got this set up, or going to be set up. I'm missing one relay, and the one relay I'm missing is relay number 1, and that's really important. Relay number 1 is the one that basically activates, or is the difference between ignition on and ignition off power supply. So at the moment, with the kill switch on like that, fuse box number 1 would be live. So things that I've got rigged up to fuse box number 1 is hazard lights, key power, headlight switch, brake lights, stuff like that so far. So things that I really want to work even when the ignition isn't switched on. I will have interior lights, obviously not that one, but I bought some LED strip lights, so that's really handy to have, so because you don't necessarily need the ignition on when you want to read a map or do whatever. So stuff like that. And then when you turn the ignition on, all of a sudden that is then I've got a trigger wire that goes from there to relay number 1. Relay number 1 will allow the power to go from fuse box 1 to fuse box 2 and 3, and on that is absolutely everything else. So anything else that's fused will be on those two, and that will be start. I was originally going to go for a push button, but I decided not to. I've gone for just the key. So that's start. What else do I need? Oh yeah, fuel pump. So fuel pump on this side I put the lights. So have I? Do you know what? I forget. I haven't labelled it myself yet. That's wipers. It's very important. Is it? Have I wired that up wrong? Oh, what a bloody idiot. No, that is definitely headlights. I've done that the wrong way around. I'm going to swap that. Why did I do that? Sorry, you don't need to see me diagnosing what I'm doing. No, that's fine. So that's headlights. That is that's wash. That's my washer bottle pump, and that is my 2-speed windscreen wiper. Yeah, so now that I've got negative wire, there's so much I can do. I say a lot of these relays and switches, there's no negative on them, so they don't go anywhere. So now I've done that. Headlights are one of the biggest ones that I really needed to do. Oh yeah, and there is a resistor. There we go. A 3 ohm, 11 watt resistor that, by the regulations, if I can find it on my little diagram, here we go, look, has to go between the cut-off switch and back to negative. I mean, on this plan, I've actually I've got it so that it goes all the way back to the battery. I'm thinking that's really overkill, especially where my switch is here and I've got a really good negative post there. So I'll just basically run it back to here with the resistor in the middle. So yeah, it's things like that. Okay, the video footage that you've just watched is from the weekly update videos that I send out to Patreons, teammates and sponsors. If you like that sort of stuff, go and check out our Patreon page. I do chuck up loads of stuff on a regular basis, and if you want to support the team that way, that's a great way to do it. Okay, wiring. Let's talk about wiring. The Rally Mini doesn't have a wiring loom per se. What does that actually mean? I'm guessing it's French. Ooh la la. Because in my mind, a wiring loom is a fixed, let's call it like a spider's web type thing. It's all sealed, all the connectors are on it, done. You install it in the car and you never have to mess around with that ever again. However, with the Rally Mini, it's a different story. Already, I've changed the wiring. I've whipped stuff out, I've added more wires and things like that. And this, as I say, is the ethos of how I've wired the Rally Mini, because it's never going to stay the same, and already I want to change things. Those bullet connectors, great idea, but those lights that you see there, I've come to the conclusion that and I will smash those on a rally stage, I'll hit a hay bale or a pallet or whatever, the service crew won't have to change the wiring, will they? Because there's that plug on the back. All they're going to do is stick on a new headlight, plug in the new thing, and away we go. What is important, that the electrical connection between the back of the headlight and the rest of the system, there's no weak spot. And those bullet connectors, as we all know, are pretty rubbish. So I've decided in certain areas, I'm gonna bin the bullet connectors. On certain areas, I'm gonna keep them. Rear light clusters, I'm keeping them because they're in the boot of the car. They're not being exposed to any bad elements apart from maybe the fuel tank, but that's fine, isn't it? And if I do smash one of those, that is really, really quick. Yeah, that is how you change those lights, isn't it? So depending on things, I am changing the plan. And that is why the wiring loom isn't a wiring loom. How am I wrapping all those wires up then? Well, in some places, I've been using this stuff, which is cable wrap. It's kind of rubbish. We use this in the marine industry an awful lot, and it is literally for inside of boats or cars, if you want, in this case. You basically run your wires through, you wrap it round, and it just basically holds it all together. It gives it a certain bit of protection against rubbing and things like that, but as you can see, it's not waterproof, and it is actually a real pain in the bum to wrap it all the way around. It's not brilliant, but I have used it in certain areas. So the other stuff I've used is this stuff. I'm sure you've all seen this. You just buy it in a roll. It's that Chinese finger trap puzzle type stuff. You basically feed your wires through it and you work your way along. And I've done that in quite a few areas where I'm worried about wiring rubbing on other stuff. So the wires go in, I'll maybe put a bit of heat shrink around the edges to hold it all in place, maybe even a label. It looks great, looks OEM, but the main role is to protect the wires. As you can see, it's full of holes, so it's not waterproof. The downside for that, if you've got a really long length of wire, what a pain. What a pain. Talking about heat shrink though, I've been using it everywhere. everywhere that I'm worried about moisture getting into electrical circuits. I bought this stuff, which is just, you know, offcuts basically. I can't remember how much a bag of that was. But obviously a roll of proper heat shrink is super, super helpful. Comes in all sorts of different thicknesses. And some of them are really funky where they have like a glue inside it basically. So not only does it shrink round your connector, it actually glues it in place. Absolutely brilliant. But the stuff I'm really excited about, and this is how I've wired most of the car inside the car, is with this stuff. And this is a bit like that finger trap type stuff, but look, it's actually split down the middle and pre-formed. I don't know if I'll be able to show you that. Here we go, look. You feed your wires in and then, ba-jum! Look at that! So what I've done is just laid the wires out where I want them to go inside the car, front to back, all up and around. And then when I'm happy with it, I've basically been laying this down there, all the wires go in there. It looks really, really tidy. It's gonna stop rubbing. It's not waterproof, but, and I've been using this stuff. You just buy it on a roll, double-sided Velcro, Velcroing round that onto the roll cage effectively, and that holds it in all in place. And I found it to be perfect for that particular task, because already I've wanted to add another wire. So yeah, it's not cheap, but for me, not being a permanent wiring loom, that's a great option. But stuff obviously underneath the bonnet, inner wings for the lights and things like that, that's mainly heat shrink and all sorts of other things that I can find, because that really does take a bit of a punishment, doesn't it? So anyway, thank you very much to Paul Carr from Cowes Marine Electrical. You are an absolute legend. Not only has he supplied me with loads of materials, also sorted me out with a new battery, which is great. I'm not going to call the wiring loom done, because it never will be. And I'm always going to be improving on it. So if you've enjoyed this video, do the proper YouTube thing, smash that like button. That is such a YouTube thing, isn't it? Smash the like button. And maybe even click the subscribe button if you want to see more videos. If you'd like to support the team in any way, have a look at the description for the video below. There's loads and loads of ways that you can help support not only the rally meal field, but also any other sort of projects or events that we do in the future. So again, to all those that support this channel and the team, thank you very much. Your support is hugely appreciated, and I'll see you next time. What? What do you want? Isn't it weird? I watched a program on cats years ago, and they said cats purr, you know, dogs, but they make a special purring noise just for humans. They don't make it any other time apart from humans. Can you hear it? Right, power on. We've got voltmeter over there saying we've got 14 volts. But when you turn the ignition on, right for the dashboard, what's that? What's that noise? He says, sausages to this. Oh, I'm out of here. See you later, Alfie.